The sun rose slowly over the endless plains of ancient Africa, spreading golden light across a land untamed and wild. The world 4.6 million years ago was not the one we know today. It was a realm where survival was the only law, and every creature, from the tiniest insect to the fiercest predator, played a part in the struggle between life and death. The air was thick with the smell of wet earth and tall grass. Herds of prehistoric horses and antelopes grazed near rivers that carved through the savannas. Gigantic birds stalked the open land, and giant reptiles still crept in the shadows of swamps. But above all these, one predator ruled, the ancient lion, larger, stronger, and more ferocious than any lion seen today. In this harsh and unpredictable world, primitive humans had just begun to take their first steps toward becoming what we now call mankind. They were not yet fully human, more like upright apes with intelligence that flickered like a spark waiting to become a flame. They hunted small animals, gathered fruits, and learned slowly to use stones as tools. They had no fire, no shelter of wood or clay, no weapons sharper than bones or rocks. Yet they possessed something that the beasts did not, a growing awareness, a flicker of understanding that life could be more than mere survival. But in this dawn of humanity, even that spark was often dimmed by fear, for the land belonged to predators, and none were more feared than the ancient lion. It was late afternoon when a small band of these early humans, 5 males, 3 females, and 2 young ones, emerged from the trees that lined the edge of the plain. They had been searching for food since morning, driven by hunger that gnawed at their bellies. The dry season had been cruel, and the river that once teemed with fish was now a shallow trickle. Their faces were lean, their ribs visible under thin, muscular skin. They spoke in grunts and gestures, communicating with simple signs. One of the males carried a sharp-edged rock tied to a stick, a crude spear that could barely wound a large beast, yet it was their only defense. From the tall grass beyond, unseen eyes were watching them. The ancient lion lay low, its massive body hidden by the swaying reeds. This was no ordinary lion. It stood taller than a man's chest, its mane dark and thick, its fangs long as daggers. Muscles rippled beneath its golden fur as it studied the group. Hunger burned within it too, a primal fire that had kept its kind alive for millions of years. It had failed to bring down a gazelle that morning, and now it stalked new prey. These two-legged creatures were strange, unlike any animal it had hunted before. But they moved slowly, their young were weak, and the scent of fear drifted in the air. The lion lowered its head and began to crawl closer. The humans sensed something in the wind. The oldest of the group, a male with gray hair and deep-set eyes, raised his hand. His nostrils flared. A silence fell upon them. The younger ones froze. Even the children stopped fidgeting. The rustle of the grass grew louder, and a low growl rolled through the air like distant thunder. Fear gripped their hearts. They had faced leopards, snakes, and crocodiles, but the roar of the ancient lion was something else entirely. It was the voice of death itself. Suddenly, the lion leapt from the grass with a thunderous roar. Birds exploded into the sky. The humans screamed and scattered. The lion's paws struck the earth with the force of falling stones, sending up clouds of dust. Its golden mane shimmered in the dying sunlight as it charged at the nearest human, a young male who tried to run but stumbled on a rock. The lion's jaws opened wide, flashing teeth that could crush bone. The young man cried out, swinging his crude spear. The tip scraped the lion's shoulder, drawing a thin line of blood. The beast roared in pain and fury. The others, panicked, fled toward the trees, clutching the children and whatever they could carry. The lion lunged again, but the elder male, the leader of the group, turned back. In his hands he held a thick branch, charred at the end from an old lightning fire they had found days before. He shouted, a sound halfway between a growl and a command, and waved the burning stick. Fire was still rare and terrifying, even to the humans who had not yet mastered it. But instinct told him the beast feared it. The lion hesitated, snarling, its eyes locked on the flickering flame. For a brief moment, predator and prey stared at each other, two forces of nature bound by the same law of survival. The lion circled, its tail lashing the air. The humans regrouped near the trees, shouting and beating the ground with stones. They had learned from the animals that noise could confuse predators. Their cries filled the air, a chorus of fear and defiance. The lion crouched, muscles tightening for another charge. But this time, the humans stood their ground. The leader waved the flame higher. The smell of burning wood mixed with the scent of blood and sweat. The lion snarled, unsure. Fire was a mystery even then, a symbol of life, danger, and change. Then came the fierce chase. The lion feinted left, then sprang right, darting toward the group with terrifying speed. The humans broke apart again, sprinting through the tall grass, their feet pounding the earth. The lion's breath came in harsh growls as it pursued them, its claws tearing the soil. It targeted a young female carrying a child on her back. She ran with desperate strength, but the lion closed the distance fast. The ground shook beneath its stride. The child screamed, a high-pitched wail that echoed across the plain. The leader, seeing this, roared in his own voice and threw the burning branch. It struck the grass in front of the lion, scattering sparks. The dry stalks caught fire instantly. Smoke rose, crackling flames spreading in a circle. The lion reared back, startled, its golden eyes blazing. It turned away, snarling in confusion. The humans took the chance and fled toward the river. Behind them, the fire grew, painting the sky with orange light. The lion paced at the edge of the flame, its hunt thwarted for the moment, but not ended. Night fell quickly after that. The humans gathered near the water, trembling but alive. The stars shimmered above them, vast and cold. They huddled together for warmth, their hearts still racing from the chase. Across the plain, the lion's roar echoed, a deep, haunting sound that rolled over the land. It was not just anger, it was a reminder that the balance of life had not changed. The humans might have escaped for now, but the wild still ruled. In the darkness, the leader watched the fire across the plain. He did not understand it completely, but he sensed its power. The flames had saved them. That realization would linger for generations, passed down through grunts and gestures until, ages later, humans would learn to make fire on their own. That moment, born of fear and instinct, was one of the first sparks of human progress. The lion, too, had learned that night, that its prey could fight back in strange, unexpected ways. Days later, the same lion stalked the edge of the humans' territory again. Its hunger was relentless, but the humans were changing. They had begun to carry firebrands whenever they moved, embers taken from the burned grass. They discovered that animals avoided the smell of smoke. The chase had taught them not only fear but wisdom. They began to build small shelters near trees and learned to watch the plains before stepping out. Their unity grew stronger. They learned that survival depended not on strength alone but on cooperation. One evening, when the sun dipped low and painted the horizon in red and gold, the humans spotted the lion again. It was watching from afar, its mane glowing in the light. The leader raised his torch, shouting. The others joined him, their voices echoing across the plain. The lion stood still for a moment, its golden eyes locked with theirs. Then, slowly, it turned and walked away. The humans cheered, their hearts swelling with pride. For the first time, they had faced the fiercest predator of their age and survived, not by running, but by standing together. But the struggle never ended. The lion returned again and again, drawn by hunger and instinct. Sometimes it succeeded, sometimes it did not. Each encounter was a lesson written in blood and fire. And through these endless battles, the humans evolved. They learned to sharpen stones into blades, to build traps, to communicate more clearly. Fear gave birth to intelligence, and necessity shaped invention. The fierce chase between the ancient lion and primitive humans was more than a hunt. It was the beginning of a story that would define humanity itself. Thousands of years later, the descendants of those first humans would tell stories around campfires about beasts with golden eyes and thunderous roars. They would carve lions on cave walls and paint them in red ochre. They would remember the fear that once ruled them, and how they turned that fear into strength. The lion became not just an enemy, but a symbol, a guardian of courage, a test of endurance, a reminder that greatness is born from struggle. The land itself changed. Rivers shifted, forests grew and died, and new creatures rose to take the place of the old. The ancient lion's kind slowly vanished, replaced by the lions we know today. But the memory of that fierce chase lived on, buried deep within the human soul. Even now, when we look into the eyes of a lion, some part of us remembers that first battle, the terror, the fire, the survival. Life 4.6 million years ago was a brutal symphony of predator and prey, of death and discovery. It was the dawn of humanity, when every heartbeat was a gamble and every sunrise a second chance. The fierce chase between the ancient lion and primitive humans was not just a moment in time, it was a spark that ignited evolution. From that day forward, humans would never be the same. They had learned to fight not just with claws and teeth, but with mind and spirit. And that, above all, is what set them apart. The plains that once echoed with roars and screams would one day echo with laughter, music, and words. The same creatures who once fled in terror would build fires, forge weapons, and stand at the top of the food chain. Yet somewhere deep inside, the memory of that ancient chase still lingers, a whisper from the past, reminding us of where we came from, and of the wild, untamed fire that still burns within. And so, the story of life 4.6 million years ago is not merely about beasts and survival. It is about the first flicker of human courage. The fierce chase of the ancient lion was not only the test of strength but the birth of awareness. Humanity began not with tools or fire, but with the choice to stand against fear. The lion roared, the humans trembled, yet they endured. And from that endurance came everything that followed: civilization, knowledge, and the endless quest to master the world that once hunted them. That was the moment when nature looked upon its newest creation and found something different, something that could think, adapt, and dream. And though millions of years have passed since the fierce chase on those ancient plains, the spirit of that struggle remains. It lives in every heartbeat that races against danger, in every spark of invention born from necessity, and in every story told under the stars. Because long before humans conquered the earth, they first had to survive the roar of the ancient lion. And they did.